So, welcome. Thank you all for joining me in this after lunch talk. And I know we have tough competition with the AI track getting kicked off, so I appreciate your presence in here. My name is Dr. Leslye Paniagua. I am a systems engineer working with Cloudflare. And I will be talking with you about how we address carbon emissions quantification challenges on the hardware manufacturing and the data center operations. So first of all, some of you may already be familiar with some terms of sustainability. We've been hearing them during this couple of days. I'm really happy to know that we have a whole group project, whole day dedicated to breakout sessions. So we're definitely in the right path. But I want to spend a couple of minutes with some basic terms for whoever is starting into this journey so they can ramp up and learn more. Really, these global warming concerns and climate issues, it's not nothing new, right? So actually, the World Resources Institute and the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, they published the first version of the greenhouse gas emissions protocol back in 2001. So we're almost 25 years after the first publication. There have been updates and new releases that help the organizations to assess emissions, set reduction targets, and report progress transparently. And we are using that across multiple industries, not only IT. IT, we also use that, as you've seen and heard before during this day. We are following this greenhouse gas protocol in our industry, but we're just getting started, really, right? So just another piece of background, these general standards are really intended to help us account for emissions and report transparently. Part of the report should include boundary settings of what we're accounting for, what are we measuring, what is the report about. Emissions can be pretty complex to measure and to report, so it's important to disclose the whole methodology to make sure that we're transparent and open with what we know, what we're doing, and where we want to go. So using these guidelines, we also have the definitions of the categories for scopes 1, 2, and 3. As you've heard, scope 1 is really what you control, what you own, the reporting company, what you own and you control, the emissions associated to that. Scope 2 is the indirect emissions associated to electricity and generation of electricity to operate your business. And the scope 3 is the well-known as the everything else category, right? So it's really the hard one to accurately measure and accurately report on, and that was really the motivation of this talk. So let's dig into it. Of course, Cloudflare, we believe in our mission, definitely, and our mission is to help build a better internet. And of course, we know that a better internet can not only be a force for good, but it should also be an engine of global sustainability. And in that sense, we of course have commitments towards sustainability. We are committed to offsetting our historical emissions associated with powering our network by 2025. So all the emissions throughout the history of the company will be offset by 2025. We also power all our operations with 100% renewable energy. We are committed to publishing our emissions report annually, and up to 2022, that report had included scope 1 and scope 2. That's really what the US government demands us to report. We don't do it because we have to, we do it because we want to do it right. And because we want to do it right, we're working on this new commitment. Cloudflare is committed now to setting near-term company-wide emissions reduction targets in line with the Science-Based Target Initiative. So in order to make these reduction targets more meaningful, we started working with our ODMs to understand what is our scope 3. This everything else category, what is our cradle to gate impact, how do we quantify it, and that's when we started talking last year in somewhere around August of 2023, we started talking with our ODMs to try to make sure that we have a good baseline, an accurate baseline, so we can actually make meaningful commitments, right? Otherwise, going in the right direction of reduction, absolutely, it's always welcome. But we want it to mean a lot, right? So we want to do it right. And that's where we started. Scope 3, we know it accounts for the majority of the emissions in IT. As we said, is the everything else category. So, of course, the order of magnitude is going to be big. And we know that the OCP sustainability already has a goal to deliver a roadmap to increase standardization for calculation, measurement, and disclosure of the metrics in the IT industry. However, we're just starting, and we wanted to make these commitments as soon as possible. So we want to collaborate. This is the whole motivation of this talk, really. We know that we are all in this together. What is scope 2 for a company is scope 3 for another one, and then what happens if I already quantified for a certain embodied carbon footprint? Do you quantify for it? What do we do as a group, and how do we really collaborate, right? So this is where we found the first portion of the problem that I am here to share with you. Really, I'm here to ask for collaboration. I'm here, unfortunately, or realistically, I don't bring a solution. What I bring is just, honestly, what I bring is just a problem statement and a begging for collaboration, honestly. So this is what we saw. We started working with our ODMs, and we saw that there's a huge diversity of readiness and willingness to share the data from different vendors. So it's hard for us to really use that data if we don't know what it is scoping, if we don't know where it came from, if it doesn't have a validated methodology, or if we don't understand what the data means, right? So just seeing this whole diverse of responses, that's what I want to show you in the next slide. We asked the same question to a set of 4 different ODMs, and the question was, hey, can you please share your cradle-to-gate emissions of 2022? We're talking about this work started in 2023. We wanted the full fiscal year. So please share your cradle-to-gate emissions of 2022. Ideally, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not pointing fingers. We knew it was going to be a work in progress. We knew it needs back and forth conversations. But ideally, we would like to get a product level report where we have the direct measurement calculations of the activity based on emission factors, and we could use that data as a baseline and say, well, you know, now I can commit to 5%, no, and I have to commit to 50% because this is too bad. Creating that baseline was the easy objective, really, but the challenge that we're facing is that we got so many different answers. I purposely put all the arrows that are there, and you don't have to actually follow them. It's just, but they're accurate. It's just really to show the different levels or different types of data that we get when we ask exactly the same question. And some ODMs won't share the product level report. Some will only share their CSR report that talks about the whole company without even knowing what the whole company does. Probably it's a company that attacks multiple industries at the same time. And then, is that meaningful to me or not? Really, the whole number itself is not actually meaningful. Another customer, they don't release the whole, another ODM, they don't release the whole CSR report, but they do release a client-based or customer-based report for the ones who ask for it. So that opens up another question of, you only tell me if I ask you for it. So, you know, it's about creating this relationship and this trust with our ODMs, understanding that we're all coming from a good place, right? We all want to do the right thing. Let's just do it together so we actually make it mean something, right? So the second part of the problem, you have some absolute numbers that we got from our actual ODMs. We got different reports. Of course, these numbers by themselves, they don't mean much. We need to understand what they are talking about. And even if they're talking about the same type of system, for example, ODM A and B columns in there, you can see that the order of magnitude kind of makes sense or align, but that's not even a guideline because the volumes of the products that we got from one ODM to the other are not the same either. So what I want to share in here, more than the number themselves, is really the meaningness of this number. Without disclosing the methodology and documenting how we got that data and what it's including, it doesn't mean that much. So just as important as getting the number and the report, it's also important to get the methodology, verified methodology by a third party to know what we're talking about and what are we missing, really. We are all in this ground field. It is not something mature. We're starting, so it's not about blaming or pointing fingers. It's about finding the gaps so we can solve them together, right? So really, this is the second part of the problem. One part is the diverse readiness and ability to just think about sustainability and propose methodologies and quantification data, and then also it's about using the right methodology to report whatever we're claiming to pollute, right? So it's a complex problem, as we've heard today many times. Scope 3 is really our biggest headache or our biggest challenge, and I'm sure we're going to tackle it in the near future. But we need to work together, and that's really what I want to leave the talk with. Is I know we're on the right path. The fact that we were talking with 4 different ODMs, and the 4 of them had someone to talk to us about sustainability, that the 4 were ready to share some data, whatever that was, that means that they are putting efforts into it, just like we are. And to be very honest, the path that got us to this point is also our customers are asking us for our own reporting, right? And we want to give them an honest answer because we want to build that relationship. So it's really, we are really all together, but we know that we're only as strong as our weakest link, right? So I think standardizing and this is really part of the call to action, standardizing the baseline emissions reporting. So that's part of the greenhouse gas protocol. We need to create a baseline. We need to report our baseline year so we can track progress over time. But that baseline needs to be as accurate as possible. And it's going to take work. It's not going to be perfect from the beginning, but it's important that we know that the baseline should be as accurate as possible. And if it changes over time, we should also disclose what changed and why it changed so we really go in the right path. So basically, I am here, I warned you before, I am here to ask for help. I want to collaborate. Cloudflare wants to collaborate. And we know that any future reduction achievements really depend on the transparency of our baseline, the transparency and accuracy of our baseline. So having reduction targets are important, of course, but the magnitude and the timeline of those reduction targets need to mean something, right? And we want to have that baseline first well created. So I hope we can, as a group in the OCP sustainability workstream, we can deliver clear guidance for quantification methodologies and reporting on Scope 3 emissions, where are specific to IT product lifecycle. So please join the OCP group sustainability, connect directly with me, and let's keep talking.
Thank you, Leslye. We do have 5 minutes if anybody has any questions.
Julius from Meta. Thanks for sharing your experience. What do you then do with the data you get? Because they're at different levels of resolution. Do you do your own hacks internally to reconcile them?
Honestly, we're just starting. One of the steps we're doing is we're here, really. But what we were aiming to is to find a way to normalize that data so we can actually create a baseline. The ideal scenario would be we know where the data comes from. They all report to the same portion that we are interested in, cradle to gate. And once we have that, then we can compare to each other and, one, make our own reduction targets, and second, also use it as part of our decision matrix on how to provide business for future generations and who we work with, right? But we want to know that our partners care for the same things that we do. We're not there yet, so that was the ideal scenario, that is intention, but we're not there yet because we know that what we're getting is not talking about the same thing, and I trust they provided their best possible data, but I don't have yet the ability to think that it's normalized, so it's fair to compare A to B. So at the moment, we're not there yet. The other action we took is just, let's go and ask for help. So here we are.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.